Hi Harsh, you asked us to just save, but how do I manage my expenses? It's difficult to save when I have so many expenses.
This is a very valid question, and very valid in our times today where the social media and the fear of missing out kind of pushes you to spend more. The easiest way to manage this is to actually do what is called as budgeting, and that is the most common solution that you will find to managing your expenses. Budgeting is a way to figure out how much you should spend on the various needs that you have around you, the various wants that demand on you. While it is the best solution, it's the reason many do not adopt is because you just don't have the time. You don't have the time to sit and budget your expenses every month. In spite of technology being available, there are some amazing apps which do the budgeting for you to a large extent. They auto segregate a lot of your bank entries, a lot of your credit card expenses into the various buckets of the kind of spends you have, whether it is food, whether it is clothing, whether it's entertainment. In spite of these apps being available, it still requires you to go back and have a look at them and understand where you're spending more and less and how you can manage your spends. Given that it takes a lot of time, many people actually do not adopt or do not take up this exercise of budgeting. So we have an alternative for budgeting, or rather a simpler form of it, which we call as Gullacking. And this is the step 4 on your path to financial freedom. What exactly is Gullacking? To understand the concept of Gullacking, I would want you to go back and re-jog your memory of how maybe your grandparents used to save money, put aside in pots which were called as Gullacks. Gullack is the Hindi word used for those pots of money, which were specially assigned for a particular purpose. A more recent memory would be a film of Salman Khan, wherein clearly he's putting aside separate Gullacks, one for his sister's marriage and one for his own marriage. And one I think was for his mother's treatment. So these Gullacks were basically a form of budgeting, a very primitive form, but still a very effective form of budgeting and keeping aside money for a particular purpose. If you were to translate this into our today's day-to-day requirement, it's very simple. You need to have just 2 bank accounts, right? These 2 bank accounts are your 2 Gullacks. One is your expense bank account, which is your salary bank account, and the second is your savings bank account, which is your savings Gullack. As and when you receive your salary each month, ensure that your savings get into your savings bank account and are not touched. They are not affected by your expenses, because what is left in your expenses bank account is the only money that you would want to spend or you're allowed to spend. To know more and to understand this in detail, refer to the link in the chat below, wherein we have a detailed video on how you can set up these 2 bank accounts to work for you.
But what if the money left in my expense Gullack is not enough for my everyday spends?
Well, if that happens, that is a trigger for you that you are spending more than you must spend, right? And if it is an expense which you have to incur, then what you're going to do is you're going to go to your savings Gullack and actually have to break the Gullack, take the money out from the savings Gullack and use that to spend the money. Translate this into today's terms, you will have to go to your savings account, place a request for redemption, get the money into your expense bank account, and then use that to spend for meeting your expenses. But what this does is, this act of going and redeeming your money from your hard-earned savings and using it for your current spends, it is a behavioral trait which kind of forces you to think that, do you actually need that money? Do you actually have to incur the spend, or it is something that you can ignore and move on for now and actually manage within the money that you have in your expense bank account or your expense Gullack?
What if I come across any emergencies in coming future? I'm a bit worried about living cut to cut today to save for the future.
You don't have to live cut to cut. It is just that you've put aside some money for expenses and you use that only for your expenses. And yes, when emergencies come up, they're going to overshoot your regular spends. And for that, you have something what is called an emergency fund, or what you can call as your emergency Gullack. Once you have this Gullack in place, which will be equal to at least 3 months of your regular spends, then you know that you have something to fall back on and you're not worried about you falling short at some point in time because an emergency came up, because for that you can fall back to your emergency Gullack. While you try out some of these ideas of budgeting or a simpler form of budgeting, which is what we talked to you about, Gullacking, if you still think that you're struggling to manage with your expenses and those expenses are your needs that have to be met, then you should watch out for the next video, which is our step 5 of the series to financial freedom, which will talk to you about how you can develop multiple streams of income so that you expand the horizon, expand your kitty of the money that comes in to take care of both your expenses as well as your savings.